Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And welcome back to the 458 and the GT3. Today we're going to be talking about credit. Specifically how credit has allowed me to be able to do some of the things that I've done from a financing standpoint for these cars that you see here in the background. And for the 63 that's sitting right here off camera. Now, disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert when it comes to credit restoration. I'm not an expert in credit. I don't interpret credit bureau reports. I don't interpret credit bureau scores. But what I can tell you is I'm an expert in what credit means to me and how it has allowed me to do some of the things that I've wanted to do as it relates to financing automobiles, my home, etc. So having said that, there are three things that I think you should consider as it relates to credit. Number one, you got to establish credit. I know a lot of folks like to pay cash for everything that they buy, and that's great. But if there's ever a time where you need to finance something, it's going to be a little bit tougher to be able to get a loan if you don't have a credit history established. So for me, I've always had a credit history established since I was 18 years old, and I've over time have learned the importance of having good credit. When I was 18, I didn't know anything about credit, so obviously I was like most 18-year-olds, I misused credit. But I learned by the time I got in my early 20s, I had learned and now understand the importance of credit. So number one thing is establish credit if you don't already have credit. Number two is maintain your credit. What do I mean by that? Well, I've found over the years through financing many cars, having credit cards, also buying houses that I live in and that I use for investment, that credit scores are extremely important. And one of the things that goes into having a strong credit score is maintaining and monitoring your credit. What I do is I will pull my credit once every 6 months. I go on to free credit websites like Credit Karma. Not getting sponsored by Credit Karma. I don't know much about Credit Karma, but what I do know is you can go on there and pull your credit. Sometimes it's for free, and sometimes it's a minimal fee that you pay in order to do that. But what that does for me is it allows me to double check to make sure there aren't any things on my credit report that shouldn't be there. From time to time, things will pop up. An unpaid medical bill or a cell phone bill. Maybe you move and the cell phone company doesn't have your forwarding address. Next thing you know, you're 90 days past due, and the cell phone company is just gonna put a collection out on that money, which then rolls over to your credit bureau report as a collection account, which decreases your credit score. So you want to make sure that you maintain and monitor your credit report. I do that twice a year, and it's been very helpful to allow me to make sure that there are not things on that report that shouldn't be there. And then the third thing is know what your credit score is and what it means. Again, guys, I'm not going to try and interpret what makes up the credit score. All I know is the credit score, the higher you have, typically the better borrowing power you have. Now, from my research, a typical credit score can go all the way up to 850. I think that's the max. Again, I'm not guaranteeing that. Do your own research, but in my research, that's what I uncovered. And what I do know is the higher that credit score is, the better terms you'll get from a bank or a credit union or a mortgage company when it's time for you to finance either a car, get credit cards, or a mortgage for either an investment property or your primary residence. So know your credit score, know what goes into that credit score. Remember, we talked about in step 2, monitoring your credit. If you get that collection account on your credit report, it can ding your credit score by 50 or 100 points. So if you're someone that typically had a 720 credit score and you get a collection account on there, it may drop your credit score down to 620. And a collection account is a collection account. It could be for $5, it could be for $5,000. It doesn't matter. It's still a collection account, and that's what dings the credit score, is the collection account. I don't believe it's so much the amount. Now, the amount might matter to an individual lender looking at your credit history and trying to determine how you have maintained and monitored your credit in the past. It may matter to them if you have a $10,000 write-off as opposed to a $10 write-off. But from a credit score standpoint, I don't think it really matters. I think it's the collection account that actually dings you. So knowing my credit score and protecting that credit score has allowed me to get the best financing possible when it comes to financing the 458, when it comes to financing the GT3. And I know I'm gonna get the comments, well, you shouldn't buy things unless you can pay cash for it. Hey, I'm not gonna argue that point. If that's the way you want to conduct your financial business, then do that. But for me, financing these type of cars are a tool that I use in order to allow me to stay liquid, keep my cash liquid so I can be nimble and I can take investment opportunities as they unfold. If I pour all my cash into cars and I pay my house off, when an investment opportunity pops up, I don't have any cash. And you know how long it takes to refinance and do a line of credit and look, I don't want to do all of that stuff. I want my cash ready to go, so when an investment opportunity pops up, all I got to do is just grab that cash, stick it in for a short period, make my return, bring it back out, and I'm done. So that's the reason why credit is so important to me, is because it gives me that power to be able to be liquid, and when opportunities pop up that I can invest in, I'm able to be very nimble and be able to go after those opportunities to create more cash. So I always finance all of my cars, and any major purchase, like I've mentioned in other videos, guys, I finance. Now, the other thing I want you to think about that I do to protect my credit is I put a freeze on my credit. So what that means is, when you look at the 3 major credit bureaus here in the United States, you got Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So I have contacted all 3 of those bureaus and put a freeze on my credit. What that means is nobody can go in and do any inquiries, no one can go in and pull my credit, and if someone were to get a hold of my social security number and my other identity, it will drastically reduce the opportunity for them to go out and create dummy accounts and purchase things under my name. So I put a freeze on mine. It's worked great. I've been doing that for the last 3 or 4 years. And anytime I need to finance a car, I simply go to the major bureaus via online and basically get a one-time PIN code that I can give to the lender who's looking to pull my credit to evaluate me for my loan. Outside of that, no one has any business doing anything to my credit. And by putting that freeze out there through the major credit bureaus here in the United States, it gives you that extra layer of protection so that this identity theft thing, not that it can stop it. Obviously, guys, the black web is extremely powerful and can do whatever they want to do, but it does help limit an amateur grabbing your information and trying to go out and purchase homes in your name, purchase cars in your name, take out credit cards in your name, that type of thing. Because when that person comes in and gives them your social security number, and that retail or car dealership or mortgage banker tries to pull your credit, they're going to deny it. They're going to not let them pull your credit. So that way, you're kind of protected. You got that extra layer by putting that freeze, or at least for me, I put the freeze out there because it gives me that extra layer of protection. So let's recap real quick. The 3 things that I've been doing to protect my credit. Number 1 is I needed to establish credit, which I did at 18 years old. Number 2, maintain and monitor my credit reports, and I do that 2 times a year. Like I said, you can go on certain sites that do it for free, or a small charge in order to do it, but it's well worth it. And then the 3rd thing is to know what your credit score is and how that credit score can affect you when it comes to getting financing. The lower that credit score, guys, in my history, the worse terms you're going to get when it comes to financing cars. Higher interest rates, more money they're going to want you to put down, because the risk is higher if you got a lower credit score. That's my history of being in the financial industry for 25 years. Again, not an expert at that, but I'm giving you what my real life feedback and experience has been. I try and maintain a 720 credit score and higher, which I've done that over the last several years, and it's bode well for me because, again, I get the very best financing options possible by having a higher credit score. That's not the only thing the lender looks at, but it's a big part of it. Believe me, it's a big part of it. Income is a big part, assets, liquid assets, how much money you got to pay, all those things go into it, but the real meat and potatoes of that profile is your credit score. And then an extra, I do the freeze on my credit so that no one can pull inquiries, nobody can go in and do anything without my permission. So that has been wonderful for me. All right, guys, I hope this quick chat about credit and how credit plays in my life and how it's been a big part of my financial life has been helpful. If it has been, what I'd ask you guys to do, man, is give me a thumbs up. I also want you guys to drop me some comments and give me your opinion on what I just talked about today on this video. I love getting you guys' comments and being able to talk with you guys about certain things. And this is one of those things that I'd love to get your feedback on. If the video was helpful, like I said, give me a thumbs up. If you're stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing and share the video. And more content coming on the GT3, more content coming on the 458, and I have a couple of guys, subscribers, who want me to do some more content on the SL63 AMG. So all of that's coming very, very shortly. Again, guys, I'm honored that you spent some time with me today, and until the next one, peace.